Hello, this is TJR, and since the announcement of the Beatles' 1964 US albums in mono, a title that doesn't exactly roll off the tongue in my opinion, I have released two videos discussing the topic. Now, in those two videos, I expressed my disappointment that we weren't going to get a Rubber Soul box set. I think a lot of people felt the same way. I expressed dismay that they would release this, but not re-release the Beatles in mono box set like the Stones did a few years back with the Stones in mono. I also expressed that both the Beatles and Apple were not only unhappy with how their albums were cut up and repackaged for the US marketplace, but also unhappy with how Capitol Records changed how they sounded. I also mentioned how over 10 years ago, a friend had loaned me a copy of the Capitol Albums Volume 1 CD set, and that I thought that these Capitol versions sounded terrible when compared to the 2009 Beatles stereo CD remasters and the Beatles in mono remasters. I did get a fair amount of pushback for saying this, which, by the way, is fine. It's just my opinion after all, and if you disagree with me, that's okay. I have nothing against you if you do, because it's okay to disagree about music. But I thought maybe, just maybe, I should try making this comparison again, because after all, it has been a long time, and who knows, maybe I will feel differently about it. So I went to eBay and purchased this. This is the Beatles, the Capitol Albums Volume 1. And this is the exact same set that was loaned to me, those many years ago. This was originally released in 2004. And I was surprised that I got it in as good of a condition as I got it in. It was $25 on eBay, sold by Goodwill Industries. They don't include actual pictures of the actual item. They just have like stock photos. And they listed this as being in acceptable condition. I thought this was more than acceptable. They still had the shrink wrap on it, still had the hype sticker attached here. It wasn't new, it was open, but the shrink wrap was still on it. This, of course, contains Meet the Beatles' second album, Something New, and Beatles 65. And I've been warned, of course, that this is very tricky, the way this comes out here. And yep, everything wants to fall out. Comes with this book here. The book has a lot of great pictures in it. The best part about it is after the short little essay, which is fine, it has a lot of quotes from John, Paul, and George and Ringo, just little quotes about their experiences and first impressions of America. And that, to me, is the most enlightening part of this here. And then, of course, we have the albums here. These are in both mono and stereo. And let me just show this to you real quick here. There we go. There was a second set, which I never listened to. There was never a third set because the decision, I guess, was made to release the stereo and mono sets. And here is, of course, the, whoops, hey little guy, is the, he didn't want to let go of this, is the Beatles in mono CD set, which I did pick up back in the day. A few years later, they came out with the vinyl version, but I couldn't afford it back then. I regret that I never got it. And anyways, though, but hey, that's what happens sometimes, you know? You can't have everything. But, you know, here it is. And so these are in both stereo and mono, the US versions. And I decided, okay, I will listen to these. Now, I paid particular attention, of course, to the mono versions versus the mono versions here versus the mono versions, of course, in the mono set, simply because that's what they're releasing on LP. But I did listen to the stereo ones as well as part of this comparison. And I have to say that, you know, I was surprised. First, I pulled out Meet the Beatles. I listened to them in stereo, I listened to them in mono. And I was kind of flabbergasted because these did not sound bad to me. I will admit that by comparison, the mono mixes here and the stereo mixes sounded more, a little muddier than what we got with the, the UK versions. I thought they sounded just a little bit muddier, but not horrible, as I'd been saying in the last two videos. I mean, they sounded fine. And I get what people are saying, that this is about nostalgia. These albums are like old friends. I get all that. I should mention that a lot of people said to me, well, you weren't obviously around when these were coming out. Yes and no. I didn't really get into the Beatles because of my age. I didn't get into the Beatles until my early teens. And that was through the Red and Blue albums. Then I did pick up, as time wore on, before of course the first CD releases in the 80s, I would get this album. This was the only early one I got. I would get Rubber Soul, which I have a vintage copy of here, the US version here. I picked this up recently. It was expensive, about like 30 bucks. But it was in fantastic condition, the record itself. It plays great. I would, of course, get Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper, the White Album. I picked up the later stuff with Meet the Beatles being the only really early album that I owned. Then, of course, the first CD masters came out, the first CD release came out in the 80s. And that's when I really finally started exploring the early albums along with the later albums. So I listened to this one, I thought, okay, this sounds fine. Yeah, it's a little muddier, but still doesn't sound horrible. And then I checked out the second album here, and same thing. I thought, okay, these sound fine too. Now, one thing I did notice as I listened is that I thought the stereo versions sounded better than the mono versions. I just thought I should point that out. And of course, what's being sold in this set is the mono ones. So then I finally got to Beatles 65. And this is where I began to hear what I didn't like. These sounded way too reverbery. Is that a word even that I can use? But yeah, these did not sound good. These sounded very bad. And I have to think that when this was first loaned to me, which was sometime after this came out, I must have just randomly pulled this one out, put it on the stereo, put it on my headphones, heard this and said, yuck, I don't like these. I prefer this. And the stereo, 2009 remasters. And that was it. I must have listened to this, said, nope, okay, that's all I need to hear. And just that was it. So I will take back a lot of what I said. These ones sounded fine. Again, I still think the UK versions are clearer sounding. These are muddier sounding to my ears. But this one here, not good. And so yeah. And I must have, just like I said, simply listened to this one back when this was loaned to me. And I must have just grabbed it first for whatever reason and just said, okay, not interested. So there you have it. There you go. I'm still not that interested in this set here. I did pre-order the Meet the Beatles. I did pre-order that one. I do have some nostalgia for that. And everybody was saying to me, you don't understand. This is about nostalgia. No, I get it. I know how powerful nostalgia is. Trust me. I am not immune to it either. But I also know that in interviews, the Beatles have stated that they were not happy with what Capitol Records did to these recordings. And so I want to listen to the way they wanted it to be heard. And I do like them better. And if you like these, I understand. And also, I know that for a lot of people, this is like, some people have said, an old friend. I get it, you know. This was my first exposure to Rubber Soul. I had this version here, the US version. And I recently picked this up. This record sounded really good. It was very clean. I have no other vinyl copy of Rubber Soul. I never got the stereo remasters on vinyl. But again, if I could ever get the mono box set, which I can, it's too expensive now. The prices are outrageous. But I'm hoping someday they will re-release the Beatles and Mono LP box set, just like they did, the Rolling Stones did with theirs, with the color disc version. I would think they should do the same thing if they don't want to upset the fans who bought the limited, vinyl box set. Then release it on colored vinyl. do something like that to make it different. I think it's more important that stuff like this is available to anybody that wants to purchase it. Rhino Hi-Fi, their stuff is usually limited to 2,000, 5,000 copies, but some of the stuff they've released, there's more demand for it than there is copies. Like the Black Sabbath first album that they released. That sold out really fast, but they re-released it. Another 5,000, unnumbered. Then they released it for October. It's the same exact pressing, different barcode, but same exact pressing. And that's good, because now more people who want it can get it. And I think that's really important. Anyways, though, so I do apologize. I kept saying throughout all this, a lot of people would say to me, well, you don't get it, it's about nostalgia. And I would say, that's fine. If you're excited for this, then great. I mean, not this specifically, but you know what I mean. The 64 US albums in mono. If you're excited for it, great. More power to you. Enjoy it. I'm not against anything that brings joy to anybody's life, just even if I'm not interested in it. If you like something and it brings you joy and I'm not into it, hey, more power to you. I'm jealous, in fact, that you got more out of it. And I realize that not everything I like, other people are gonna, necessarily like. They might dislike it. I don't know why we can't live and let live when it comes to that. Why we have to take it so personally. If somebody doesn't like what we like, or vice versa, we shouldn't take it personally. Anyways, though, but yeah, I did order Meet the Beatles. There was a sale on the this upcoming box set where they knocked the price down to under $150. It was like $140 or so. There was a huge knockdown in the price from Merch Bar. I did post a link to it on the forum page, the YouTube forum page. If you're subscribed to notifications, you probably get the forum page post that I leave. And I did, post a thing on it in case anybody was interested. I said, I'm not, but you might be. And a lot of people said, thank you, I appreciate it. That this makes it affordable now from $2.99 to about $140. And in fact, Meet the Beatles was $13.99 as opposed to $30 or $29.99. It was just $13.95. So yeah, big difference. And I pre-ordered that. I'm looking forward to checking it out. Again, maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe these will sound so amazing that I'll have to get the others. I don't know. We'll see. But I'd rather hold out for them to re-release this on the, that LP version. But at any rate, though, I just wanted to just say that and just apologize. I was not entirely correct about this. Time has proven me wrong, and listening to their LPs proven me wrong, obviously. But yeah. Anyways, though, that's all. Leave a comment. As always, do all the YouTube things. Click like, click subscribe, hit the bell notification icon. And thank you, patron supporters. Patron supporters do receive exclusive weekly videos not available on this channel. And if you'd like to be a patron supporter, go to patreon.com/TJR the original. You can also leave a one-time super thanks for any video that I post here. That helps a great deal. And so does just clicking like. Clicking like is free, and it helps this channel grow. Everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.